My name's Yngve Malmsteen.
Hi, my name's Christian.
Jay Malmsteen, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. I really want to learn how to play guitar solos.
Well, you're gonna see what's gonna happen.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is the fingering for A minor. If you do that very slow, it goes.
And welcome to another edition of Guitar Tales. My name is Dave Cohen. I am getting help tonight because I need help tonight. So our publicist extraordinaire, Scott Guitarmacist Engel, will be co-hosting with me in a minute. We have a really fun show, and it's sort of born out of the fact that I apparently have this tendency of saying that's funny. So many times that Scott's made it a drinking game. So we have a legit guitar player, musician, TV star, comedian on the show. Don Jamieson is our guest tonight, probably most famous among many, many, many things he's done in his amazing career. That Metal Show, which is groundbreaking. I think it was on for about 15 years on VH1. Just an amazing show. He is a musician. He is open for amazing musicians in his lifetime, and he is a phenomenal comedian. So why don't we try to get both of you guys to slide in at once here?
Woo! Ooh, with the magic of television.
Ooh, we came at the same time.
You did.
And right on cue, his dog's going to start barking.
I know. I'm holding him by his leash.
Why
right
does
now.
That dog cause me to do so much editing to the show? You have no idea
He does.
how hard it is to isolate a bark and take it out of the show.
I actually gave him gummies the last show, and all that did was rile them up even more. Like there's actually, it's legit, marijuana for dogs that I got. And doesn't do anything to them.
Next time, I used to do it to my friend's dog in college. Just blow bong hits on him for like an hour. He'll relax.
The fog.
Yeah, it's craziness. So we have Scott here. I know you and Scott are good friends, and Scott's depth of knowledge in the world of metal is far greater than mine. Mine's like, but Scott's is that.
I got my Kramer USA Neptune Kramer guitar.
Yeah, but Dave, your whole background is music, man.
It is. And I did this for you. I got a Rick Derringer album back here for you. Got Guess Who? I don't know who Main Horse is, but I found it in my album collection.
I don't even know who Main Horse is.
I don't either. We got a little Aerosmith.
I love the fact that you have, you're like, that's like my place. Like, I have vinyl on the wall. I have guitars on the wall. That to me, those are, guitars are instruments to be played, but they're also beautiful artwork.
In my hallway, I have a 1943 acoustic guitar. I was driving down south in Pennington. It had to be 500 yards away. I look and there's a garage sale and I saw an old acoustic guitar and I just almost skidded out, did a U-turn, drove up to the place. And I said, "What do you want for it?" He says, $25. And it's gorgeous. It's, it's about yay thick. It's got double F holes and all that.
Totally unplayable, though, right?
Unplayable. So the guy I bought it from said, if you invest $500 in it, it'll be worth $500.
Yeah.
So I bought it for $25 and it hangs on my
It does
wall.
look cool.
It's a cool looking guitar.
I hate when people say I'm not going to lie, but I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It's a very good guitar.
And Scott, the whole time you were saying that, he was counting the dog barks.
Oh my God! Yeah, poor Scott. He has to deal with it.
I roll. I'm like,
yeah, I know.
Use your mute button, and Don and I will talk.
And then right now, I'm drinking a little Guinness in our Noise Network mug. Very nice. Erin, Scott's wife, always complains because I slurp into the microphone. That's part of my issue.
He's a terrible. VH1 Classic would have thrown his ass out the front door.
It's true. We artists, we're very temperamental.
Our minimal production value that we had, we would not have tolerated slurping.
No, and I do slurp. Yeah, it's even worse when I slurp out of a nice wine glass, which I'll do with my pinky out.
One of the funniest drinking on the set moments on that Metal Show was we had Marilyn Manson on, and he shows up annihilated drunk at like 11 in the morning. We're taping at noon. and he's literally drinking from a bottle of his own absinthe.
Oh no!
He has his thing Mansynth, and he's drinking his own absinthe. He's wasted, and we get down on the set, and he puts the bottle. He brings the bottle with him onto the set, and the segment producer comes out and says, "Hey, we can't really have that in the camera shot. Can we get you a cup for that?" And he goes, "Yeah, no problem." So the PA comes over with a styrofoam coffee cup and puts it down on the table, and he pours the absinthe in it, and the whole thing disintegrated instantly.
Well, they say absinthe it has some weird qualities about it. It's an hallucinogen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what Marilyn Manson needs, more hallucinogens.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He's a walking hallucinogen.
He is.
Right, but Scott, the thing is, like, I always tell people, he's not a guy I would like to hang out with on a Friday night, but, he's a rock star, and I'd rather have the real Manson than shiny, happy Manson come on the show, and that's how he is. So yeah, come on. I mean, it was it was like herding cats with him. It was like babysitting a 5-year-old with ADD. But at the end of the day, you want the real guy coming out there. So for better, for worse, that's what it was. But they always used to say, "Oh, does David Lee Roth, is he really drinking the Jack Daniels, or is that iced tea or whatever?" And the same thing with Manson. I was like, I wonder if that's real.
Oh, that's funny.
When that coffee cup disintegrated, I go, "Oh no, that's
funny."
Imagine your stomach.
Oh, we have to drink. I said that's funny. Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe this is a bad idea having me on the show with you. I'm just gonna.
But that's a great story, though.
It is.
I
was actually lucky enough to be at a taping of that metal show. I will sometime I will never forget. And Steve Vai was one of the guests, and Tommy Lee was supposed to be the other guest. And I don't remember why he didn't show up, but it was sort of a really last minute thing, and they were really scrambling around. And all of a sudden, they got Jamie Chasta to come on from Hatebreed, and I'm like, what the hell is he going to talk? He's no offense, he's no Tommy Lee, but he was fantastic guest.
Yeah, Jamie. Jamie was a friend of me and Jim's from before that metal show days. So
right.
And we really wanted to have Jamie on the show, but they were like, "No, we got to keep it in that classic, genre of metal." Which then, of course, after, we did 14 seasons of it, we broadened out more and more as we did it, because you can't just have the same 12 guests on. You can't have Ace Frehley on every week. You can't have
same with this show.
So we branched out from everywhere from Johan from Amon Amarth, Viking death metal, to Hard and Styx on the show. And to me, that was always the coolest thing about the show, because we also used to pair people up that you wouldn't think naturally pair it up, like Vinnie Paul, God rest his soul, from Pantera, with the guys from Styx, or Corey Taylor from Slipknot with Night Ranger. Those were always the fun shows.
Bunch of guys, it always felt like you're just sitting in somebody's living room, and it did look like our living room, which was brilliant.
Yeah,
a bunch of guys sitting around and just bullshitting about classic rock and heavy metal and stuff, and it's so absorbing.
Yeah, and it's funny. Who would I just saw there was a metal band on Stern recently, and Miley Cyrus sang with them. Was it Metallica? I think she sang with Metallica. Maybe. And there was a complete sort of comfort level, more than the persona would have otherwise suggested, where different genres, they get along just fine, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny, like everybody, if you're looking to make like a great living, like, don't get into metal, man, because it's not, unless you're Metallica or unless you're Iron Maiden, who can still sell out arenas and stadiums around the world. It's just not, it's tough. It's a tough business.
Look how long it took some of those bands to get traction and make money.
Yeah.
Years and
but
years.
But it's so funny that people like Miley Cyrus or Lady Gaga, who are just multi-millionaires, beyond comprehension, they want to be metalheads and they want to be rockers, because I know with all this talk where they say, "Oh, rock is dead" and all this stuff, but it's not. It's still there's still that perception of coolness with hard rock and metal. It's still there. For a lot of people. Even though the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't really induct too many rock bands anymore, but
don't get me started. We could do an hour on that alone.
Yeah.
No offense to the other bands that are in there, and I know Eddie Trunk is a huge proponent of this. He gets upset every year. He gets his list and he starts losing his shit. And I'm right there with him. I mean, it's just absurd the people they bring into a rock and roll. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Have a rap Hall of Fame. Have a country Hall of Fame. Have a pop Hall of Fame. This is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Why are you bringing all these other guys into it?
Right? Can we just have our thing?
Right? Why is everyone to hone in
that's
on?
what it's not even. Eddie said it. He always says it best, and I agree with him. Which is, it's not at this point. It's not so much who they're putting in because they have this agenda to do it.
Yeah.
But it's who's not going in because of that. That's the main problem. When Tone Loc is going to get in before Motorhead, we can't have that.
It's absurd, man. It really is. It makes me crazy every year.
Yeah.
And I try not to let it bother me because, I have no control over it. But, a lot of the grassroots...
I thought you did, Scott.
There's been a lot of grassroots things online to force them to bring some of these bands in there. And I feel like they didn't really want to do it, and they sort of just got forced into it based on public opinion or whatever.
Yeah, there's another option, I suppose. So, my dog's bothering me now. So I'm a member of what used to be called the American Trialers Association. I still am. We have a new name now. And there were some folks who weren't happy with the work they were doing. So people who didn't quit that organization started an entity called the National Trialers Association, similar name. And I got an invite as recently as today to join, and maybe I'll join someday. But I half wonder if there is enough motivation to try to change the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Perhaps there is a competing, organization. People could sit on both. People could be in both. I mean, you think about it. Like the Academy Awards, we have the Golden Globes, right? So I wonder
the Emmys,
the Emmys. So. Oh, there you can see my guy. There he is. He's having sex with my arm right now, literally. But
I'm so jealous.
But I wonder if there could be a competing organization that would satisfy that need. That could have a similar name. The Rock and Roll Tribute Show or something like that.
Well, they did. There is a heavy metal Hall of Fame that some people created, and but then I hear metalheads complain. Well, it's not a real thing or whatever. But
Right.
So there's some
you can't have it both ways. This is either our Hall of Fame or it's not.
It kind of reminds me of Miss America and Miss Universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Miss America is the iconic thing. Yeah. And Miss Universe was like, all right.
Yeah.
How many pageants do we need? Talking about hot shit.
That's true. Yeah.
How many Hall of Fames do we need talking about rock and roll? It should be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. End of story. Period. That's it.
Yeah, I took a tour there a few years back before COVID, and they were very nice and they were cool. And actually, up on the wall they have that metal show up on the wall there.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're gonna do a section for music TV shows. So they're going to start inducting music TV shows. I'm sure, like Don Kirshner will be the first one.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, people like that. So maybe we'll actually get in there. But,
I
we're
think
allowed to criticize.
I think that metal show is important. I do. I think historically it's an important show. It's every bit as important as any other music show that's on television. And you know what? When it was on, there were no really other great music shows, at least that I was interested in. Maybe in the early days of MTV, you had like Night Flight and stuff like that.
Headbangers Ball, yeah.
Or Headbangers Ball.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. Which I worked on Headbangers Ball when I was a young strapping man in my early 20s, and
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So I was.
That he was once a young strapping man.
I was once a young. I'm an old, way less strapping man.
Yeah.
I don't strap like I used to.
Yeah.
No, none of us do.
Yeah, but back then, and so I've known Ricky Rackman since like 89.
Wow.
And I, Ricky and I have stayed in touch all these years. And, he's like, DJ, he goes, man, to this day, of all the things I've done in my career and cutting my hair and having different looks and doing NASCAR and doing, UFC and things like that, commentating and all that. He goes, the thing that people still come up to me the most about is Headbangers Ball. I go, yeah, because the fans of the music that we love are so dedicated and they're so loyal. And, when Headbangers went off in 95, there was no other show that did what they did until we came on in 2000.
Well, you gonna watch American Bandstand or Soul Train?
Well, that's for their that kind of music.
Those guys, we want our stuff.
You watch Soul Train. If you like Dimash, you watch our shit.
Right.
But the point was, I go, Ricky, there was 13 years where rock didn't have any presence on TV between you and then me, and Eddie and Jim, of course. So, when that Metal Show went off the air, I said, I hope it's not 13 years for whoever the next people are that'll carry the torch. Because, the rock scene, again, rock is dead. It's like, no, not if we support it and we give it a home and a place for these people to come on and plug their stuff and let people know they're still out there, introduce new bands and all that stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, Dave, you could vouch for this. I mean, we've had young rock artists like Mariah from Plush. The younger kids are gravitating, they're gravitating towards the heavy metal and rock.
So we've had a lot of talks on the show about it. Like Pete Townsend talked about it, and 78, 79 rock is dead. I think it's getting assimilated. I think it's a smaller piece of the musical pie than it was when the three of us were growing up. But I think it's there, and there's a really, to me, surprising reverence by a lot of young musicians for rock and roll that's been very encouraging for us. Scott mentioned we have Mariah Formica, fantastic band Plush. They're working hard and they're doing it the right way. They're playing shows, they're getting out there, they record music, then they support it by playing live, and it's been fantastic. We have this young woman, Sierra LeVake. I think she was 16 when we had her on the show, maybe 15.
Yeah.
And all rock. She's pure rock.
Her teacher's Bumblefoot.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Who I was blown away when we'll talk about that story when I saw Don's live videotaping and Bumblefoot was there wailing away on his double neck guitar and one of the necks was fretless. I was like, I'm going home to burn my guitars. I'll see you out there.
It's crazy.
He was terrific.
But it is I think it's not dead, but I think it's different now. I think it's very different. I think it's smaller and at the same time important.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, because I make a living as a stand-up comic, but I got really, dragged into this world that I was always in as a fan. So for the worlds to collide in such a crazy way, it's like still amazing to me because, back when I was, growing up, here in Jersey and going to see my favorite bands like Judas Priest or Iron Maiden or whoever, and
camping out for tickets.
What's that?
Camping out for tickets.
That's right.
Yeah. Or no Ticketron. You sit on you get
sleeping outside the record store. Yeah. And and then we're never thinking like, how could I, I would never think, how would I ever meet these people? How could I ever get backstage or any of this stuff? And now, these worlds that I love so much, that I've loved since I was a kid have collided, and it's the perfect world that I live in because I love comedy so much. I always have, loved music and obviously rock music my whole life. My first two albums were George Carlin, Occupation Fool, and Kiss Destroyer.
Oh, look at that. That's great.
I was actually going to ask who your favorite comic icons are. Would George Carlin be one of your
God, yeah.
Rushmore of comics?
I used to listen to it on my Radio Shack tape recorder, with the one little earbud in. Yeah. Because I did, I was 12, so I couldn't have my parents, I was listening to 7 Dirty Words and all that stuff.
Right.
I didn't want them to know I was listening to this, but I was listening to Carlin. I was listening to Cheech and Chong, Richard Pryor. So, and then, later Dice, who's my favorite comedian of all time, I did 10 years on the road with him. So, so for me, it's like, I love being a part of this world, but I'm still a fan of both. I'm still a fan of comedy. I'm still a fan of hard rock and heavy metal. And even though I'm friends with so many people in both genres, I'm still in awe of people's talents.
But it's interesting. There's so like Jim Brewer comes to mind. And then I even thought of these days, look at Jack Black, he's a phenomenal singer and musician. He's a great actor. He's funny as hell. Yeah. And I think those worlds connect pretty nicely when you think about it.
I feel like I have a lot of friends that are comics, including Don, and I have a lot of friends that are musicians. And when I get into a situation where I'm at what I say to my wife, a regular party, where I don't have my people there, and people are talking about, well, Dave is starting medical school this year, and we had to find him a laptop, and I'm like, let's talk about rock music. Let's talk about something cool. That's.
Yeah.
Because
I know I never feel like
I get together. It's flawless. We laugh. We make each other laugh. We commiserate about our stupid jets.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I never feel like the adult in the room when I'm like talking. When I'm in a room full of people and they're talking like what Scott just said, I'm just like,
I feel like I'm 15 years old again.
Let's debate which album's better, Kiss Destroyer or Rock and Roll Over. I don't know from your kids and laptops and all this shit. And even if I did, I'm not that interested in it.
Right.
I'm interested in my worlds. But yeah, it's all good, man. It's crazy that, because I thought when I started making some money at stand-up, I go, man, that'd be amazing if I could somehow get my world of music into the mix somehow, some way. And, Jim and Eddie and I meeting up and, creating that metal show, that was it, man.
And let's talk a little bit about that, because selfishly, Scott and I are interested. But when you're starting at sort of the real ground level, you guys don't have juice yet. You have a little bit of juice because you've already achieved some success. But what was it like in the beginning, convincing people who had notoriety in the world of music to come on your show, selling your show? Back then you had to, you couldn't do what we're doing here. You had to actually sell your show to someone to convince them to put on. How were those early days?
Well, so the street cred that we had at the beginning was really because of Eddie Trunk. And,
right.
At that point, almost 30 years in radio. So he really had cultivated all these great relationships. So that's what really got us kickstarted big time, because we had Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson on our first season of the show. Wow. When we didn't even know what the hell we were doing, and didn't know if it was ever going to last. So that really helped out in the beginning. Jim and I were starting to get involved in the scene. A lot of the bands were passing around our Terrorizing Telemarketer CDs and our Meet the Creeps hidden camera DVDs. So we were starting to get to know people. Yeah, we were getting known in the scene a little bit too, but not enough to call, somebody, to call, Geddy Lee and go, hey, will you come do the show? But the funny thing about getting the show on the air was, Eddie's whole background was in radio,
right?
And he was hosting for some VH1 classic stuff, but they were looking for a long form show. Now at this point, Jim and I had both probably done a dozen TV pilots that never got picked up.
Okay,
but you make money, so that was cool. But after a while, you're like, this didn't get.
Oh, so you were able to sell, not just create, but you sold pilots.
We just got hired to I did a gardening show, I did a home show, I did a game show. I did every kind of pilot. And like I said, it kept me going in those early days because you can make an okay payday on hosting a pilot. But after a while, you're like, they're basically paying me to stay off television because they're not picking any of my shows up.
Right.
So when Jim and I finally went into this meeting with VH1 with Eddie, we were just like, it's not going to happen. So who gives a shit? We walked in camo shorts and, Slayer shirts or t-shirts, completely unprofessional. And we spent the whole meeting breaking Eddie's balls the whole time because he was trying to be so professional and present himself a certain way. And we were giggling and laughing at him and making fun of him. And that's why they picked up the show. They go, listen, we don't really know your world of music like you guys do, but we love the interplay between the three of you. So we're going to shoot a pilot and see where it goes. So doing all the wrong things is what got us.
Yeah. It's like the George Costanza day when he had Opposite Day, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely a chemistry between you guys. I mean, aside from the fact that you're all interested in the same kind of music, but Eddie's knowledge of music off the top of his head, of course, is legendary. With the box of junk and all that and trying to stump the Trump. Yeah. And he's rarely stumped. And it's not a bit. Like, he really had no idea what the question was going to be. Because I was there at the taping. I thought, oh, this is bullshit. They tell him the answers ahead of time. No, he's just blindsided with these questions. And he goes, let me think. Oh, that was 1976. And Ace Frehley was using a pink guitar because, or whatever. It was unbelievable. His knowledge of that.
But then the stuff he knew, but then just in the moment he couldn't recall
access
it,
Yeah.
Because even though it's a taped entity with editing and stuff, when you're on the set and the lights are on you and the crowd is sitting there, like, there is still a certain amount of pressure, and sometimes he would just space out on something. And that was what drove him the most crazy. And so, but that's what everybody wanted when they watched the show. They wanted to see Eddie have a meltdown.
Right.
And what people didn't see on TV was the hours and hours in our dressing room together where me and Florentine are just cutting the most horrid gassers of all time and not let Eddie leave the room. So, and then just, needling him and breaking his balls for hours so that when he got on the set, he was totally raw. So when he missed a question, like, there was all that frustration came out, and it was great because it made
you guys fogged his brain. No wonder he couldn't come up with the.
That's right.
Speaking of great. Like pilots, was Meet the Creeps a pilot show, or that's something you guys just put out on your own? Because I think these videos are brilliant. And let me tell you,
thank you, man.
Depending on the right people that come over, my people, not the guy that's talking about their son going to medical school. We'll put those on and just like hang out and drink and watch it and just laugh and laugh and laugh. And I've seen it hundreds of times, and they're brilliant. And I really feel like you guys could have made a real show out of that, but maybe it was just too raw for TV.
We did actually end up doing a pilot after we did, I think, two volumes of those DVDs. But no, the original premise was like, Jim and I were like, there's all these hidden camera shows, and of course, Candid Camera being the original, right, back in the day. But
Scare Tactics and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then and Punked and all that. But the thing that he and I both hated about, they're all great shows, but the thing we didn't like about those shows, or that we liked the least, was the reveal at the end.
Right.
Like, oh, we got you, ha ha ha, hi, I'm
right.
Blah blah blah, and we're like, no, we want to F with people,
right,
and then have the thing just fade to black,
right, which
and
is
nobody
brilliant.
had any idea, like, how did it resolve? It doesn't matter.
Oh
yeah, it's almost.
I can't believe you didn't get arrested.
Yeah,
almost.
Well, it's like the innovation on Seinfeld. They were one of the first comedies where we didn't care about the characters.
Well, they
were just horrible human beings. Before Seinfeld, all the formula for sitcoms was, we will be funny, but it has a heart, and it has to resolve at the end of our 26 minutes of story time.
Could you imagine Seinfeld, on a very special Meet the Creeps, Don tells Jim that he doesn't like his gas.
Yeah. And then you hug it out at the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're taking upper deckers on camera and all that stuff.
I know.
There's a reason we haven't.
Can you explain what an upper decker is to our audience in case they're completely naive?
Well, and
I'm a degenerate, so I know exactly what an upper
decker is.
As do I.
The old school toilets are going out of style these days, but for people who do still have the standard toilet, there's on the back of it with a lid, and so an upper decker is instead of going in the regular bowl, you go up in the top part. And so then when you flush, the crap goes down into the bowl
really
instead
bad.
of, flushing out. And, we used to do that to each other on the road just to mess with each other, take an upper decker because, for like the next 10 flushes, our crap was going to, come out. And we did a segment with it. And I remember Jim's manager going, "You guys will never get a role in Hollywood if you put that on that DVD." I go, "We're not getting roles in Hollywood anyway.
Put it on.
Yeah, let's do it." So it's just, it's crazy stuff. And we did a pilot for Comedy Central. They had a web series for a while, and we did a bunch of pranks on there. And then we shot a proper pilot, and they gave us a lot of money to do it. But at the end of the day, once it was all put together and stuff, the woman who would give it the green light or not was like, this is like humor for like 18-year-old boys. I don't get it. It's like, well, you're not supposed to get it. You're a 57-year-old woman.
Right. Look at Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah.
He did fine for himself, and their humor's, much of it is worse than that. Or better, or whatever you might want to call it. But it's interesting. I guess you had the wrong recipient for your pilot because
Absolutely.
When you think about what those guys got away with, just as bad. Thinking about electrodes and things like that. Attached to the wrong place. And
I love you made the terrorizing telemarketer CDs too. We'll chat about that a little bit. I love that too. Hysterical and just who loves telemarketers? Nobody loves them.
Target, yeah, they really are. That was just another thing. The reason Jim and I have had such a great partnership is because we were comics who didn't want to wait around for the industry to come to us. We're like, no, we'll go do our own thing. Yeah, this Volume 7, my God, I mean. We have 7.
That's a lot of calls.
Us messing with telemarketers, and this is the power of America that we can, be middle-aged men and make a living doing prank calls. But that was just a thing where we would just mess with telemarketers to tell each other funny stories on the road, and then the light bulb kind of goes on, and maybe we should record these. Maybe we can make an album because we love the Jerky Boy again. The stuff we done, there was precedent to it, but we just put our own spin on things. And telemarketers are the one target that everybody hates from 8 to 80. Nobody likes telemarketers. They're obtrusive. They're crooks. They're, they're the worst people on the earth. So we, found a great target for them. And so there's 7 of them out there, which is amazing.
How would you? Oh, go on, Scott.
I would say I used to, for my own enjoyment, if I was in the mood, mess with telemarketers. Let them go the whole spiel. Like, oh, I want to sell your car warranty, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, wait. And then after a half an hour, and the guy thinks he's got me on the hook. Oh, what car was that again? Oh, yeah, I sold that like 10 years ago.
Right, yeah.
Hello?
Now, how would you?
But these Jim and Don are brutal with these. I mean, these telemarketers must go home and just like cry. Now, do they get the happy ending? Do you eventually have to call them back and kind of let them know that they were on tape or get a release, or that's all out the window? You just record it.
Well, I mean, you try your best, but by law, I mean, and Dave might be able to correct me. As far as I know, in Jersey, if it's incoming, it's fair game. So
it's a one party state, as I understand it.
Sometimes you have to, but sometimes you got to wait a couple weeks because. Sometimes, we get these people so wound up that they're angry for a good week to 10 days. So.
We might be able to drop a video. I know you did a couple of cartoons. Who did those cartoons for you guys?
So some fans, helped us and put together some animation to some of our calls, which was
they took the audio and made some animation to it, and it's just great. Don's like a telephone guy on a pole and butting in. I don't want to give away the bit, but maybe.
Now, how would you get them? So, in other words, unless you're sitting by your phone all day waiting for a telemarketer, would you proactively be able to call them, or was this only you guys receiving the calls?
Yep, all incoming, man. So it is. It's like a band going into a studio. Jim and I just sit around, at his house. He's got a phone line dedicated to it. Like he's got a hard line, a home line that he doesn't ever use, except
Right.
when we make albums. And there was such a long time between Volume 6 and Volume 7, and so he hadn't had the phone plugged in to that outlet. And he said the minute he plugged it in, when we said we're going to record a new one, the phone started ringing off the hook.
Oh,
These
really?
telemarketers are ruthless,
Yeah.
They just keep calling. And some of the same companies that have been on other albums are on the newest one. It's just
Oh,
different.
that's great.
It's just different people, because the telemarketers never last, because it's the crappiest job on earth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. By the way, the big reveal right now is I'm a former telemarketer.
Are you really?
Yes.
All right, we can't be friends anymore. This
No.
you heard it here, folks. For the first
When
time.
I was 14 years old, I was the youngest telemarketer in the country for Lawn Doctor on Route 34 in
I know
Matawan.
exactly where that is.
Yeah. And in college, I worked for a company that sold frozen meat in Freehold. So I am a twice telemarketer.
Terrible.
Yes. It's a truly horrible job.
Maybe you're on one of our CDs.
You never know.
He probably is.
I might be. You never know.
Yeah, but it's and Jim and I just have this great. The thing with our partnership that that I love the most is, like, there's no voice of reason. So there's never an idea that's too crazy, because one of us will go, I know this seems, all right, hear me out. I know this seems crazy, but what if we do this? And then the other one will go, let's do that, but then let's do this on top of it. So,
Right.
There's nobody sort of going, maybe, again, like what you were saying, Dave, like, let's have a happy ending here. Let's, make everything nicey nice. It's like, no, let's be ruthless and just make great comedy,
Which is
there's
pure.
a spot for it.
Yeah.
You guys went on a talk show, like a regular morning TV show, and caused absolute havoc. I this when you're telling this story, it's making me think, like, I'll tell you what we do. We go on the morning show and we fuck with the host, blah blah blah, and you guys are like, all right, I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah, people could look it up. It's you could put Don Jamieson, Jim Florentine, Kansas City news station. Because we used to, when we go play this club out in Kansas City, like, you'd get in Thursday night, and then Friday morning you'd be up at 6 a.m. The club owner pick you up. You're doing 3 morning radio shows. You're doing, and then
promoting to your show. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great because it sells tickets. But by the time we got to the local TV station, it was just like, hey, let's just F around, with these people. Like, all right, what do you want to do? So we just came up with this whole bit. And again, I won't give it away, but people should watch it, because but it was basically like, we'll talk about how you just got married, which he had. And then I'll confess in the middle of the interview that I had an affair with your wife while you were away. And the guy we were supposed to be on for 5 minutes. The guy sped through our plug so fast. And I'm saying, I go, hey, by the way, your front door is sticking. You might want to oil the hinges. And, don't worry, I used a condom. Like, it got crazier and crazier as the show went.
How was Jim's acting? Was he good?
Oh,
was he
great.
believable?
Oh, Jim is very convincing. They do another bit where I think Don is doing stand up, and it's another hidden camera prank. It's on one of the DVDs. I think it's maybe on the third one. He smashes Don in the head with a fake beer bottle, but it looks really convincing, and people in the audience are just completely stunned. Completely stunned. It looks real.
So was Jim a heckler for that bit, or was he just...
he's kind of like, why don't you get off the stage?
No, he said you stole my. No, that's another bit.
Or you stole my joke or something.
The bottle one is Jim's on stage, and I go, dude, that's my joke. He goes, no, it's not. I wrote that.
That's
I
right.
go up there and I confront him, and then he has a beer bottle sitting on a stool, and he smashes me over the head with it.
I know you got smashed, but I thought you were on stage.
We did that at Rascals in front of a huge crowd. It was so fun because the reactions.
The old Rascals in Ocean?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, now, did you have a reveal for that one?
Yeah, because then they saw me, they saw Jim, they saw me get up and everything. But we had to reveal, but not in the edited bit.
Oh, that's great.
You watch the thing; it just fades to black.
Yeah, they don't.
I like that.
Nobody off the hook.
Yeah,
on
like
camera.
don't like let people try to imagine what happened afterwards.
I
We don't
like
have to
that.
come out and go, "Hey, wasn't that a funny joke?" Ha ha ha.
So you know what it is? You're not apologizing for the humor.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, when you have a comedy bit, then they have this sort of awkward resolution where everything's okay. It's almost like you're apologizing for being funny. You know?
Yeah, and almost yeah. I listen. Like I said, I love Impractical Jokers. Punked. I thought was really funny. Like a lot of these shows, they're great. And Candid Camera, of course, when I was a kid, for people who
Yeah.
don't remember Candid Camera, but that was such a great show. But Jim and I just we have, like I said, there's no voice of reason. We both have a dark edge to us, and I think it's been great, especially now coming into the modern age with comedy where people are apologizing for jokes and stuff like that, and we never did and we never will. So
Good.
we have our crowds, thank God, who know what to expect when they come to see us.
Right.
If you're triggered by shit, stay home. You don't have to come out. So I'm glad we never apologized our whole career, and we're not about to start now.
Exactly.
I like that.
What do you have a nightmare gig that comes to mind? I mean, we all have. I mean, I've got my nightmare gig. I know you must have tons of stories. Just the sheer fact that you've opened up at festivals and stuff with like a gazillion people out there who want to hear heavy metal or want to hear Ozzy or whoever you're opening up for, and then you come out there and tell dick jokes. I mean, there's got to be some resistance, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've done Sturgis a couple times during Bike Week,
Oof.
Okay.
where they had no idea a comedian was going to be on the bill, and that was first time I did Sturgis. So what happens out there is when a band is playing, if the bikers like them, they wait till the end of the song and they rev up their engines. That
Right.
means they like you. If
Okay.
they don't like you, they start revving up while you're playing.
Ooh.
Oh.
So we were playing this place called Kickstands. It was a foreigner tribute band, me and the band Faster Pussycat, who I was out on tour with for a couple months that summer. And for whatever reason, and the foreigner tribute band was awesome, by the way. But at some point, I guess they just got tired of them and they started revving up. And I go, oh my God, they're revving up on the foreigner tribute band. And these guys are great. They're going to hate my guts. Like, this is terrible. And I got, and then the bass player from Faster Pussycat would go up and introduce me every night. But he was like bombed. So he was babbling and they start revving up on him. On my introduction, they're revving up.
No.
Wow.
I am so fucked here right now.
Yeah.
I got to do a half hour. So
That's not a short set.
No. And now I get up there and I'm like, now it's fight or flight, right? Now I got to make some big decisions here. How do I work this out? So I get up there and I see this biker. He's got his shirt off, his arms are folded. Like no way is this guy going to make me laugh.
Right.
And he looked exactly like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay.
So I just went up there. I go, give it up for, whoever the foreigner tribute band is. And listen, Stone Cold, I don't care if you're going to keep your arms crossed the whole time while I'm up here. You better laugh, mother effer. I'll come down there and I'll put you in the Stone Cold Stunner and I'll embarrass you. And all his buddies are lined up and they have all their bikes behind them.
Oh boy.
Right.
And I just started, because I'm like, I gotta do something.
Right.
I was desperate. And he looked exactly like Stone Cold. It was great.
Wow.
Right.
And after a couple of minutes, his friends start breaking.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And then he looks over and sees him, and then he broke, and then it was on. And then the next 25 minutes were a piece of cake. But it was just one of those moments where, like, what do I do here? Like that could have turned into a moment of not a very good moment. But
I had a sort of a similar situation with a biker dude who's really, really super scary looking. And I think I might have told the story on the show already, but we just finished covering Crazy Train. Maybe the first time we ever played it out. And I feel like I did an okay job, like get off the bandstand, this guy comes over, same thing, like, daring me to. I'm like, was I staring at your girlfriend or something? That's another problem we sometimes have. We're just playing, looking out in the audience, and hey, man, you were staring at my girl. No, I'm staring at everybody, not your girlfriend. I don't even know. Have you seen how hot my wife is? So he goes, I just want to tell you something. And I'm like, what? He goes, you made Randy proud. Oh, good. So you're not going to kill me. Great. Thanks, man. Let's go get a beer.
That's good stuff.
It's the thing about comedy and music, I think, too, in a lot of respects is, there's still bad days, and those are the days that keep you kind of humble, when you start feeling good about yourself. There's always an audience waiting around the corner to take you down a few pegs. So
yeah, it's true.
You got to stay hungry,
Now, how do you? I have one experience only. Literally, I was starting to tell Scott before we went on. I'm probably a teenager, young adult. I went to the Garden State Arts Center to see George Benson, of all people. And George Wallace opened for him. Great comedian.
Yeah.
And the energy that the audience had brought to watch music and listen to music is so different than the energy to listen to a comedian. How do you get your audience to make that pivot for you? Because it's such a different kind of energy. And I think that's what makes your job so hard. When we're not there to think about anything. We're there to just, to soak in the vibe and to either dance or shout with the music or whatever it is. But comedy is asking us to think and then asking for our response. So it's and we have to listen. We have to be quiet enough to hear you, So how do you do that? Because that's impressive.
Well, now you got me nervous. I think not thinking about it is how I do it.
That might be the way to go. Right.
I just say yes to the gig and then I figure out how to do it afterwards. But you're right on all those things. But too, I think, audiences are definitely more open-minded these days. They they're definitely more open to some variety. And I have a decent recognition factor in the rock world. So it's not so weird that I'm up there.
That makes sense. Right.
And, for me, I look at it like I'm an opening band. And you could hang in here and watch, or you could go out to the bar or go outside and smoke or what do, you
have rock and roll sensibility about you.
And then when I do the opening for bands, it's all music related. It's all about bands.
Okay, that makes sense.
And all that. Right. So if you stay, I'm going to keep it all in that family.
Gotcha.
So it's not weird where I'm going to go, oh yeah, so my wife, or whatever.
Yeah. So in other words, you wouldn't want Milton Berle opening for Pantera.
No, right. No. Well, I wouldn't want to open for them either. That's too extreme, those crowds. Yeah. But I try to find the right pairings too. That's important.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I always say, please put it on the poster, the flyer for the show.
Right. So they know what to expect.
Featuring the rock and roll comedy of Don Jamieson or however you want
to
phrase
it. There you
go. So I try to make it as foolproof as I can.
Right.
But, for me, when I do regular nightclubs, I'll do some rock material, but, not everybody's into it. So, I can kind of feel it out. Sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less. But I could work in front of an 80-year-old crowd. I could work in front of a 20-year-old crowd. I could work in front of a rock crowd or not. But, in front of those crowds, I look at it like the early days of, just playing doing bar gigs where you had to get up there and really be aggressive and try to get that first laugh out of these people who've been drinking all day. They don't even know there's a comedy show because you don't go, I'm going to be a comedian and now you're headlining Rascals 2 weeks later. You got to pay your dues. And I look at the rock shows like that. I come out stage and I'm aggressive, man. I'm right away, right in their face. Boom, let's go. Boom, boom, boom. And by the time they realize what happened, it's over and they're seeing their headlining band.
Right.
And they've had a great time.
That's another good parallel that musicians and comics have. I prefer the smaller rooms over the big rooms. I feel it's more intimate. You could see the people in front of you. You can kind of interact with them and stuff. And when you're doing comedy, you could visually see people reacting directly to your stuff. Problem is, with a smaller group, you get you get your hecklers and people that want to come on stage and grab a tambourine and all that kind of stuff. In a larger venue, you have a little more of a buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that does make
there was
sense.
in winter 2019, Jim Brewer, who you mentioned before, was out opening for Metallica. I was out opening for a band called Pop Evil, and Larry the Cable Guy was out opening for Styx. And I'm like, this is
That's
amazing.
a weird pairing.
Like Larry the Cable Guy and Styx, that's a party. I want to see that, man. But I was just so happy. Like, here's 3 rock and roll comics out there opening for bands at the same time, and it was really neat, man. There's not many of us who can do it or are crazy enough to do it. But I love the combination of the two, man. If you can make it work, it's fun. It's become a big part of my career now.
Yeah, it's impressive, and I think you're probably part of a small and rarefied group that can do it. Like who doesn't like Stephen Wright as an example? He doesn't fit that.
No.
His Andrew Dice, of course, would, because people scream for him, and he has that energy. You do, Jim Brewer does, but then you get this sort of the quieter comics, the Gary Goldman. He's not going to fit that.
No.
He wouldn't be. He's great, but he's not the right fit for that.
Yeah, correct. And listen, all these guys could do it if they wanted to, but comics tell me all the time, they go, "You're nuts. I don't know how you do that."
I'm not a comic, and I think you're nuts for doing it.
Yeah, you're right. And you're right. You're 100% right.
Imagine.
There's no reason I should be doing that, but I do, and I really love it.
That's
Before
great.
you came on, when Scott and I were talking privately, he didn't say for doing that. He was just saying you're nuts, privately to me.
I think all my comedian friends are a little bit crazy, and I think it was Gilbert Gottfried, the late Gilbert Gottfried, who said, comics are kind of like a clam; they have a little irritation in them to make that pearl, and if they don't have that irritation,
I like that.
There's no magic,
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, most of my closest friends, I don't trust anybody who doesn't have a little rage in them,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you figure out like how to contain it and turn it into your, what you do on stage, which is super important.
Right.
Yeah. So I know that last night you were at McSorley's and you were sufficiently tempered in your conduct that you could be here with us tonight. Tell us a little bit about that. I've had some drinks there myself back in the past, but what was going on there?
Man, it's crazy. I've been going to McSorley's, with a buddy of mine for probably 30 years now. It's McSorley's, for people who've never been there in New York City. It's the second oldest pub in New York. Abe Lincoln drank in there. It's literally been around that long, so that's perfect for my jokes.
Well, that's it. I'm going. If Abe Lincoln drank there, I'm
I
was supposed to be there last night. I had to work. Damn it.
They have the chair. They still have the cherry set in there. And
really?
And it's all New York history on the walls. It's such a visually captivating place. And we were sitting in there one day on a Sunday afternoon, day drinking, me and my friends, and I was thinking about, it's time to make another album. And I said, we're sitting there, I go, I should just do it here.
Great.
Like, we know everybody here. Everybody here knows us. We've been coming here forever. And within an hour, I had the whole thing set up. Beautiful. I came up with the name. I came up with the theme. I got the owner to give me permission to do it there for free. Because the whole theme is around Motorhead, because all my albums are parodies of rock albums.
Right.
And so I've been wanting to do a Motorhead one. So I was like, No Sleep Till McSorley's, which is it's going to be called. And Motorhead had No Sleep Till Hammersmith. And I do my albums with Metal Blade Records, but my contract ran out on my last one. So like I literally emailed them from McSorley's and said, I'm assuming you want to put out my next album. I'm locking it down right now to do it here at McSorley's and blah, blah, blah. And they wrote back, absolutely, we want to do another record with you.
That's great.
Then I texted Phil Campbell, who's the guitar player in Motorhead, and asked him to play the guitar intro, and he recorded one for me. I emailed Motorhead's manager, Todd Singerman, who's a good friend of mine, and I said, could I use the artwork from No Sleep Till Hammersmith and put myself in it? And can I use the Motorhead font? He goes, whatever you want, Don. You can take it and use it. And so all these worlds just perfectly collided, all in an hour while day drinking.
See that?
And
Yeah.
that was
Let me
probably
tell you
back
something,
in
kids.
like
That's
April.
Don Jamieson's world. Don't drink and try to put together a comedy record.
And last night was the culmination of it. I was going to do it back in June, but we ended up putting it off, which I'm glad we did, and did it last night. And it was packed, and everybody there had. I think everyone had a really great time. I know I did. It's going to be an awesome special, and it was exactly what I wanted it to be. It was just perfect, man. It was it's the whole vibe of we're in an old Irish pub drinking kind of vibe to it, man. And I'm just so excited now. I'm not excited to have to now screen all the footage and listen to myself tell jokes, because that's horrifying. But
I'll put up a QR code of your last DVD, Hellbent for Laughter, which I was.
That was a couple albums ago, but
Oh, was it? Oh, I got it
I did
wrong.
that one in Uncle Vinny's in Point Pleasant, which is my home club.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then you want to talk a little bit about the book you did too, which has a place in my house here. We
cool.
Look at it all the time. It's
I
it's
saw
near
that,
the throne. It's called
all
You Might
right,
Be a Metalhead.
Well, you can read the whole book while taking a dump. I mean, literally.
That's what I loved about it.
It's I saw Jeff Foxworthy. Obviously he started the "You Might Be a Redneck" thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And his book was 72 pages long. So I'm like,
great. Lots of cartoons, lots 82. Of pictures.
You beat him.
So the fellow that did it with you, Joe Bartnick.
Yeah.
What was his contribution? Did he do the artwork or the jokes or?
No, Joe came. I was really happy. Joe came by McSorley's last night.
Oh, cool.
For the Late Show. Joe's an old comic friend of mine. He's a huge, rocker, metalhead from back in the days. Originally from Pittsburgh, but he lives in Los Angeles now. He's got a special out right now that's beyond phenomenal. But yeah, Joe and I wrote these jokes in the vein of "You might be a redneck if," but instead "You might be a metalhead if."
I like that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just a fun joke book. Mike Morse, a comedian from Jersey, did the illustrations for it. So,
Mike did the illustration. Okay, I thought maybe Joe was the illustrator, and you did all the.
No, Joe and I wrote all the jokes together.
Okay, gotcha.
And
it's funny. It's funny as hell. It's great. And you know what? I after reading it on the throne the other day, I am a metalhead for sure. Definitely.
So you 100%. Definitely are a metalhead.
I'm even wearing my Motley Crue T-shirt, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. I got my Go to Bed with Motorhead shirt on.
I was wondering what you were wearing. We're gonna put up your QR code for donjameson.com, which has all the tour dates and information and stuff that's coming up. And also, of course, We Love That Rocks, which you can only find on YouTube, correct, at this point? Just YouTube?
Yeah. Yep. Jim and Eddie and I getting into the modern age. The people who brought you that metal show.
Right.
So grateful for people to this day who still say, "Hey, could it ever come back? Could it ever come back?" And like, well, we're doing this new thing because everyone said, "Well, do it on YouTube. Do it on YouTube." But there's a trick, as you guys know, to monetizing.
Mm-hmm.
Shows on the internet or social media or whatever.
I got a check for $9 the other day. $9.
We're three old bastards. So we ended up meeting these young guys who were fans of that metal show who said, "Hey, listen, we produce social media. That's what we do. And we know how to monetize it for you guys and get it up and running and do your social media and all that stuff." And so we've been doing it on there, and I think we're doing episode 20 this week, and it's been great. We've had Corey Taylor on, and we've had, Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony and David Coverdale and
real high-end guests. And my boy Brad Gillis, he's my favorite. I love Brad Gillis.
Oh my God, there's nobody more fun than Brad Gillis. The guy.
I mean,
I've had.
You remember he brought up a great point. He was talking about like I kind of made the whammy bar tricks my thing. And back when I was listening to him, everybody was listening to Eddie and Randy Rhoads and stuff. And I'm like, I like this guy, Brad Gillis. I like the idea that you can mess around with that wiggle stick and get some really cool sounds. And I sort of made that my little adventure when I first started playing guitar. to say, hey, look what I can do, and you can't. You know.
Yeah, and Brad really gave a really cool. Yeah, it got a little guitar geeky for some people, but he really, because he cites all his influences and how he got to be using the whammy bar, but he made it his own thing, which was cool,
Right.
So, but Brad's a great guy. He pulled me on stage at PNC during the Party Gras, the Bret Michaels Party Gras.
Right.
Oh, that's
Play
great.
Sweet Home Alabama at the end. He's like, go out there and play, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know this song. He goes, I just go out and fucking jam. So,
Well, that's good.
yeah.
David, we hit an hour already.
We did. Look
I hate
at
to
that.
wrap this up, but I think we're gonna have to let Don go, and I'll have to go edit out the barking.
And we didn't have too much barking. You can
Yeah.
keep the humping in it, though. The
You wanna
humping
talk-
has to stay.
You didn't mention our sponsor, so we should do
No, I
that.
know. I screwed that up. So,
And also a couple of a little PSA about a couple of future shows we have, including the
yeah.
Eddie Van Halen tribute show that we're working on with
Yeah.
with Phil X.
Yeah. So we've.
Cool. Yeah. I love
Yeah,
Phil.
it's gonna be-
Phil's in town. I missed him the other night. He was like, come on out. He's in town
Yeah.
because Bon Jovi's rehearsing. But Phil's awesome, man.
He is great. So we're lining up. We're doing a Van Halen panel show, and Phil's agreed to do it with us. So it'll just be a full hour. I don't.
Gush about the master, and I'll probably talk about Brad Gillis, and everybody will be pissed off at me.
Yeah, but I don't know if we'll be able to limit it to an hour. I mean, it's Eddie. It's fucking Eddie.
Hey, we
We'll
did 2
figure it
hours
out.
with Janaron and legal stuff. We can do.
I know.
About Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, we cut it down to 2 hours. That show. I think we went 2.5 on that one.
You were getting tired.
Yeah, I was getting really tired. And I did forget at the beginning of the show, and right here on my computer, Scott sent me a chat reminder, and I forgot. We have a wonderful sponsor to the show. Season 1 guest Charles Larita owns Mischief Studios over in Pennington, New Jersey. He's a great guitar player. I don't talk enough about that. Charles is a phenomenal guitar player and a great songwriter, but that's what led him to open his music shop there, and he'll do repairs for you. He'll sell you instruments. He's got studio space, and he's just a great guy. So if you have ever any needs in Central Jersey, go over to Pennington. It's smack dab in the middle of Philly and New York, and he runs a really great shop over there. So we've got great things. We've got a great sponsor and more great shows coming up.
And we're also streaming all our past shows every Thursday night.
Yep, they all start at 7.
Until we get caught up, and then we'll be doing whatever current show we're doing. We'll stream.
Yeah.
And we'll do, and you and I will do a couple of live shows too.
Yeah, we've got our intermezzos, which are getting a lot of traction. So
Yeah,
that's
a lot
been
of
working
fun.
out great.
Don, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on. I know you're super busy, and you were super, thank God, not hungover from the McSorley's gig. I'm really looking forward to the record and the DVD, and wish you a hell of a lot of luck. And let's go Jets.
That's right. Go Giants. Oh, sorry, Jets.
We looked like dog shit yesterday, but listen,
Yeah.
well, it is what it is. I don't live and die by it anymore, Scott. I did forever, and I just can't do it anymore. I don't have that kind of energy. But
I got sucked in as a young child watching the Brady Bunch and seeing Joe Namath do Noxema commercials, and I thought that's going to be my team. That guy's so cool. Look at the fur coat. Look at the chicks he's getting.
Yeah.
Even when I was 12 years old, I'm like, that's my team. And then he
You
disappointed
knew he
me
was
from
the man.
1969
That's it.
till now.
Yeah.
Every single year. Well, maybe some year it'll happen.
Yeah.
I met Joe Namath once, and I guess when people go, "You ever get starstruck meeting these musicians?" And everybody go, the only person I was ever really starstruck there were actually two, and both in sports was Joe Namath, but he was so friendly, like he immediately put me at ease. And then Tom Seaver.
Wow.
Being a
And
Mets fan.
that reminds me, you used to do, or still, maybe you still do on SNY. Do you still do any work with them?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of shows with them, and I hosted a series called Beer Money for a couple of years, and that's how I met Tom Seaver, because they would give me the SNY suite for a couple of games.
I see.
And Tom came in one day with a case of his wine, because he has Tom has his own wine, so he came in, and I was with Eddie Trunk, who's a big Mets fan also, and he goes, oh my God. And for Eddie to freak out over anybody was crazy.
Yeah.
And I go, what? He goes, Tom Seaver just walked in. I go, really? He goes, yeah, he's right behind. And I turn around, and he's standing right there.
Now,
And
if
I was
Florentine
like-
said that to you, you wouldn't turn around. You know he was full of shit.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But if
here's
Trunk
a
got
tip.
excited, you know it's real.
If you ask Jim Florentine where the bathroom is, wherever he points, go the opposite way.
That's great. That's great.
But
You know,
Tom
Oh,
was so
sorry.
nice, and it was, it's great when you meet these people who are your idols, and they're really cool.
Yeah, right.
I was having my romantic dinner for my 10-year anniversary with my wife at Brando's in Asbury Park, and they have the TVs in there, and we're enjoying a nice romantic dinner and staring each other's eyes. And I look up, and who do I see on television? Don Jamieson.
Cock blocker.
Boy, you ruined the whole thing. I started staring at him instead of my wife. I don't know what happened. Anyway,
That's
again,
funny.
Don, thanks again for coming
Yeah.
on. We
What a
appreciate
great
it.
show. Yeah.
And
Thank you, guys.
we'll see you guys soon, and make sure you check out That Rocks.
That's right. YouTube.
Yeah.
That's right.
A lot of fun.
Thank you, guys. I really
Thank you
appreciate
much.
We'll have Phil X take us out since he's a metal guy, and
That's
we'll see you
right.
next time. Guitar Tales.
All right, take care.
Hey man, it's Phil X, and you're watching Guitar Tales with Dave Cohen. And Guitar Tales, guitar tales. Like, what else do you need, right? Guitar. We're geeks, nerds, gear, inspirations, positive vibes. Look out.